Moving on to the next thing. Troops on the streets. Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security head, has now directed Pete Hegseth, who is the Secretary of War, so renamed as, under the authority of President Trump, is now going to send troops into Portland to protect the ICE facility up there that's under siege from Antifa and other terrorist organizations. Now, the governor of the state of Oregon is losing her mind over this, but so what? They put I believe, what was it? An unlawful use of property message. They put a message or a note on the door of the ICE facility, and this is from the city of Portland, saying that it was an unlawful use of the land because certain detainees were being held too long. Now, I don't know where they're getting that from. There must be some kind of ordinance there. But they were apparently detaining these people X amount of days, and it was supposedly in violation of something within the city of Portland. And they put a notice on the door that said it was a violation of the use of the land. And Antifa and the other terrorist organizations in the area took that as a green light. And for the last 3 months, they've been attacking that ICE facility. Up to this point, law enforcement has been using rubber bullets, flashbangs, and tear gas, which are the normal munitions that are used tactically for protesters or rioters that are getting a little bit violent or aggressive. At this point, Kristi Noem has given the go-ahead for Pete Hegseth to send troops out there with the authorization of full force. So, as necessary, obviously, they're not just going to go out there and start indiscriminately killing people like, Joshua Hahn shooting at the ICE facility yesterday in Dallas, or the other day in Dallas. They're going to go up there, and obviously they're going to use discretion to use that force. But they are authorized to use full force. It doesn't have to be rubber bullets, doesn't have to be tear gas, doesn't have to be flashbangs. It's going to be real bullets this time. So when they start coming up there and attacking people and assaulting them violently, they're going to possibly get retribution at the same measure that they're using of violence. So, Portland is a sanctuary city. They're not cooperating with ICE. So, what does that mean? They self-determined back in 2017 that they were going to be a sanctuary city, which meant that any federal law enforcement that came in there to try and apprehend illegal aliens, and I would say that illegal aliens in that city were not going to get the help of local law enforcement, is what that means. And that's with any sanctuary city. I believe Baton Rouge is one, San Francisco is one, LA is probably one. I'd have to look that one up. But anyway, troops in the streets. Now, Trump has already sent troops into Newark, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles. You might want to ask yourself this question. Are we allowed to use troops on the citizenry? Now, back in 1878, Rutherford B. Hayes, during the presidency of Rutherford B. Hayes, they passed the Posse Comitatus Act, which prevented the use of the Army and the Air Force. Since then, there have been restrictions imposed on the Navy and the Marine Corps, which are actually one element. Even though they're separate, the Marine Corps is actually under the Department of the Navy. So, are we allowed to use those troops? We were not allowed to use those troops all the way up until 2012. But before I get to 2012, I'm going to go back to 2001. The Patriot Act. In 2001, after 9/11 happened, they passed the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act allowed for the spying of the citizens, spying on the United States citizens, the intelligence apparatus of the United States government. Before, that was not allowed. So the government was not allowed to spy on its own citizens. But through the Patriot Act, which they have to use what's called, they have to get what's called a FISA warrant, which is based on the FISA Act, which is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. So what they have to be able to show is that there's probable cause that you're connected to a foreign terrorist organization to be able to spy on you. But, there's a lot of rubber stamping going on up there. They've been caught several times, but it's never actually come out in court because it's classified. So everything is taken up behind closed doors and supposedly taken care of. You'll never see it brought out because it's all classified information. But that FISA Accord is able to rubber stamp. I don't want to say that everything is a rubber stamp, because that's not true. So I don't want to put that on them. But they're allowed to utilize the FISA Accord to spy on American citizenry. That's 2001. Now, move up to 2012. The National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, signed by Barack Obama, made Posse Comitatus null and void. Since 2012, the United States government has been allowed legally to utilize troops against the United States citizenry. That's true. Look it up. And now we're going to get to something else that's super special. During the Barack Obama presidency, Secretary of State John Kerry went over to Europe, and he signed something called the Small Arms Trade Treaty. You might want to look this up, because that Small Arms Trade Treaty he signed us onto says they're taking our guns. You didn't know that, did you? I would say 99% of people don't know that. Yes, it says they're going to remove the weapons from the United States citizenry. Now, the Constitution makes that treaty signature null and void. But you think they're not going to try and enforce it? You bet they are. They're going to find a way to do it. They're going to find a way saying it's some kind of emergency clause, which there is no emergency clause in the Constitution. They don't, under duress of the country, is it allowed for them to go, okay, we're taking everybody's guns. In fact, if we're being attacked, they want to be able to utilize us in that capacity. That's why we actually have them to begin with, to prevent other countries from attacking us and to prevent the government of this country from attacking the citizenry. What does the Second Amendment say? All right? Oh. Sorry about that. I had a drink. A well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So what does that mean? Well, let's just go to the very last statement in that. That's the whole Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed. So, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed means you can't infringe on it at all. You can't make any laws that are going to be infringing on the rights of the citizens to own weapons. And that includes guns. Bear arms. It's talking about owning guns. Now, they've already made it illegal to own fully automatic weapons. Wait a minute, it's not illegal. But they'll tell you that's illegal. You just have to have a Class 5 firearms license, an FFL, excuse me. So you got to get a Class 5 FFL to own an automatic weapon. I do believe it's Class 5 is what you have to own. But you can own an automatic weapon legally here in the United States. There's nothing they can really actually prevent you from owning, because they have no legal or legitimate authority to infringe on your rights in that respect. But still they find small ways to do it. And isn't that the way that it always is? It's always piece by piece by piece that they take away our rights, and we allow them to do it. They start making up hate speech laws. Well, what's hate speech? If there was anything more subjective than that, I don't know what it is. Who's defining the word? If you're going to define hate speech as anything that I consider to be hateful, well, then I can just put you in jail for whatever you're saying. Now, they're going to classify it specifically because they're going to say, well, these are protected groups you can't speak out against. Who's making up these protected groups? Do you see where this is going? When you start allowing them to make laws like that chip away at your rights, then in the end, they're going to get them all. You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. They're never going to stop. Mind you, evil never sleeps. All right? These people that are evil and they want to control your lives, they think about it all day and all night, every day, because they have nothing else to do. We're talking about super rich, super wealthy people that just have nothing to do but think about controlling you, because that's what they want. They desire to control you. And I'm not just talking about people within our government. There are plenty of psychopaths within our government and people that aren't even psychopaths. They're just willing to capitulate to this, or they're compromised. But there's plenty of people out there, and I don't want to say large groups, because when you look at it, by and large, it's a small number, like 3,000 families, that actually control the vast majority of property and money in the world. And if you control the vast majority of assets, it really doesn't matter if you control the vast majority of money. You have leverage. And if you have a large amount of money, you know, that's not where you want to keep it. You don't want to keep a large amount of money. You want a large amount of assets, because with inflation, the money can just collapse. And that's how they're going to end up getting us into the New World Order anyway. They got to collapse the economy to get us on this new world currency, which is going to be a crypto run by the banks. It's going to be the banking cartels that have this crypto, and you're going to be forced onto it. It's going to happen. Otherwise, the mark of the beast system couldn't make sense. It doesn't make sense unless they have that. So they're going to eventually collapse the economy. You're going to be moved on to this. And these people think about this day and night. You don't think they already have all this stuff written down, how they're going to do it? You bet they do. And we get to see some of it in like a UN Agenda 2021, a UN Agenda 2030. You know, and we also know how they're going to commit to it when we have the operation leakage of the paperwork from the FBI, and how they're going to put 50 million people in camps throughout the United States in an emergency. Well, what emergency is going to make you have to put 50 million people in the United States in a camp? And where are the rest of the people? These are good questions. Okay? Now, I'm just putting these things out there to give you thoughts. This is food for thought. All right, does anybody remember Operation Jade Helm? Where they sent United States military out into the populace as an operation that was supposed to get them ready to try to blend in over there in Arabic countries in the Middle East. How does that help them blend in the Middle East? One, if you're an American citizen, the vast majority of us are going to stick out like a sore thumb. And they were using the United States as using the land and the cities within the United States to commit to this operation as a training element to prepare them to integrate over in the Middle East. That don't make sense to me. If I'm cold weather training, you know where I go? Cold weather. If I'm going to go and train to be an operative in the Middle East and I'm supposed to blend in, I'm probably going to go in a place where the people are Middle Eastern, or they're maybe Arabic of some sort, in a non-combatant area where we're not having or there's not a civil war going on, or we're not having some kind of a conflict, and I'm going to do the operation there in a country that I have, I've received authority for them to go in and to do that. I'm not going to do it in places here in the United States and cities here in the United States. The only time I would do that is if I plan on having an operation inside of the United States where I was going to need to blend into the public. So, again, food for thought. Okay, what about all the FEMA camps that were all over the United States? We stopped talking about all this stuff. There's all these other things that are going on that take us away from these things, but we got to remember this stuff exists. The NDAA from 2012 exists, allowing for the troops to be turned against the citizens. The FISA Court and the Patriot Act of 2001, which says that they can actually seize your property. The United States government can seize your property legitimately and distribute everything that's yours how they see fit. That's true. Go look at the Patriot Act. It says they can do it, but they want you to forget about this. They want you to forget about the fact that now from 2025 on, you're going to have a black box in every single car. Actually, I think it was they passed that like in 2016. Forget that they're going to be charging us per mile on our cars, because they were going to try to force everybody into electric vehicles, which the power grid can't sustain. They're going to force us all into this climate change garbage so that they can try to come in under the auspices of saving the planet and force you into the regulations and policies under Agenda 2030 for the United Nations. And if you don't do it, if you don't fall in line with their policies, all of these climate change policies they put out there, they can consider you an unlawful occupant of your home because you're not using the right appliances. Yeah, all this stuff is true. I'm not making any of this up. Go look up every single thing I'm saying. And this is scratching the surface. It's not even. It's so much worse than this. But I don't have time to go through all that right now. I just wanted to put that out there because you see troops on the streets, and we got a regime right now. We got the Trump administration that's for the people. I don't believe Trump is going to go out there and start trying to attack patriots with the troops. I don't believe it's going to happen. All right? But when somebody gets into power, and this is going to happen eventually, that hates patriots, don't think they can't turn those guns on you. Don't think they can't come try to take your weapons and turn them around and point them back at you. because you can be dang sure that they will. They indiscriminately use drones to strike over in other countries and kill people with massive collateral damage. Do you think these psychopaths that are willing to do this over there, and I'm not saying that everybody that's involved in this is a psychopath, but the people that are directing it, the vast majority of these people, I believe, are psychopaths. They like to murder you. They want to kill you. They think about it all the time. Just like I was saying with the people that are all those families up in top. They're 3, 4, 5, 6 generations deep of psychopaths, sociopaths. They're completely disconnected from reality. They're completely disconnected from society. They think they should own the planet by birth and they should be able to control it by birth. And they're doing everything they can to make sure that they and their posterity are able to do that. Remember it, because it's true. All right, guys. Have a good night. God bless.